Welcome to the State Bar of Georgia Legislative Update for March 2nd, 2012. I'm Ken Shigley, President of the State Bar. With me is Tom Bowler, Legislative Representative for the Bar. A lot's been happening in the legislature in the past week. I'll cover 3 points. One, the Juvenile Code, which has been a labor of love for a lot of very committed people in the Bar and in related organizations for several years, passed the House of Representatives unanimously this week, a couple of days ago. The bill, as passed, included a lot of revisions that had been made during recent weeks. Last June, we put the proposed code as it was then on the State Bar website for comment. At the Board of Governors meeting on August 18th, we had a panel discussion between the advocates of the bill and those who were raising concerns about it from the standpoint of district attorneys and juvenile judges. We withheld Bar endorsement of the Juvenile Code to try to help facilitate working out the compromises to make it workable and ready for passage. During the session, several changes have been made, and next week we will ask the Executive Committee to consider endorsement of the bill after having sent out emails to the Board of Governors regarding the changes and the circumstances. Some of the changes are the child-directed representation idea has been eliminated. The requirement of splitting representation between an attorney for a child and a guardian ad litem for a child has been eliminated. That can be the same person. Requests for continuance may be made orally at a scheduled hearing. That was a concern raised by juvenile judges. The reinstatement of parental rights cannot be ordered over the objection of the parent. That was suggested by a Board of Governors member. Delinquency provisions have been changed to allow a child to enter an admission at an arraignment if it's an informed choice. That was something that was raised by juvenile judges. The concerns about cost of implementation have been addressed with the commitment of Chairman Willard to work with the Budget Office and the Governor's Office to secure funding for implementation. I'm going to ask the Executive Committee next week to enter an endorsement from the Bar, coupled with an insistence that the leadership in the state needs to commit to adequate funding in fiscal year 2014 and future years to make sure this is adequately done and doesn't just become an unfunded mandate. A second item that's up, the Criminal Justice Reform Bill was introduced on Monday. It wasn't exactly the form that I, as a member of the Criminal Justice Reform Council, expected it to be in. The Joint Committee on Criminal Justice Reform is holding hearings yesterday and today. I sat through the hearings all day yesterday. There was testimony from Superior Court judges and district attorneys and others. A lot of discussion about best practices and accountability courts, a lot of discussion about the nitty-gritty details of some of the proposed changes and definitions and classifications of offenses. We expect that there will be a committee substitute out next week. The Bar's Criminal Justice Reform Committee will meet the afternoon of March 8th to help vet this. Third, the Indigent Defense Amendment to secure the stream of funding for indigent defense will be on the House floor on Monday, and we are hopeful that will pass. Tom?
Well, as you point out, there's a lot going on in the General Assembly right now. Not only is there activity in the General Assembly, but as many of you know, there's an election on March 6th. Presidential primary is coming up, and so we've had a number of candidates for president visit the state capitol. Newt was in the House last week, and like Ken said, the log jam is growing. We're on day 28, and we'll expect to have day 29 on Monday and day 30 on next Wednesday. And that's the last day that a Senate bill can move from the Senate to the House and a House bill to move over to the Senate. So the log jam is starting to back up. Last week we had debates on abortion, debates on charter schools. The Senate went until about 9 o'clock on Wednesday night, so we're getting into the closing hours of the legislature. As Ken said, the indigent defense legislation will be on the calendar on Monday. Again, if you have not contacted your legislators, we would ask that you do that and express your support for essentially funding a constitutionally required activity by the state, and also I think to reaffirm that when the legislature imposes fees for a specific purpose, that those fees go to that purpose and not be siphoned off for other activities to fund by state government. In addition to indigent defense, the Open Records Act that has been worked on for the last year and a half is ready to go to the floor of the House. I expect that will go to the floor on Wednesday. The FY13 budget will go to the House, I believe, on Monday, so that it can get transferred over to the Senate for their consideration for the FY13 budget. We've also passed in the Senate last week legislation that creates a cause of action for those engaged in the unauthorized practice of law. That legislation was introduced by Chairman Hamrick. So there are a lot of things going on. We've had cleanup bills on elections, on nonpartisan elections, to assure that those nonpartisan, and particularly looking at judicial elections, are held during the primary this summer. And we've also had the cleanup legislation to clean up a few technical glitches in the comprehensive jury pool legislation that was passed last year.
Thanks, Tom. Today I'll be putting together the agenda for the State Bar Executive Committee for next Friday. I'll be out of town dealing with that meeting at the time of the taping then, I suppose. And we'll be looking at a number of bills that have popped up during the session that have just come on our radar screen, and consider whether or not the bar should take a position on some of those things that have been proposed. Again, we'll be looking at criminal justice reform with a committee substitute and a bar committee meeting both next week, and consideration of, at long last, an endorsement of the juvenile code as it's been revised during the session. Thank you, and we'll talk with you later.